Live from the Carl Chevrolet Studios in West Des Moines, this is Iowa Live.
What a great day out there and a great time to check in with our good friend, Professor Jeff Stein, and teach you a little bit about something that happened on this day in Iowa history. Hello, Professor Stein. How are you?
I am well. Lou, yourself, how are things on this Monday?
With the weather the way it is, I don't know if they could be any better. But we're going to talk about something that happened on this day in Iowa history. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about celebrations on this day in Iowa history. But this wasn't necessarily a celebration, but a tragedy that happened that we really need to remember.
Oh, absolutely. We take transportation for granted these days, getting from one place to another. Let's go back to March 20th of 1910. Just as it was this year, that year it was a Sunday. And in fact, it was Palm Sunday, March 20th of 1910. A bridge near Shellsburg collapsed and a freight train there derailed, killing the engineer. Now that meant the trains had to be rerouted, including 2 Rock Island passenger trains, both bound for Minneapolis. They were instead sent to Marshalltown, then to Waterloo, eventually to make it to Minnesota. Well, you see, each train had arrived in Marshalltown by the early morning hours of Monday, March 21st. Rail officials decided instead of running 2 separate trains, they would join the 2 together for the trip to Waterloo and back the locomotives up the whole way.
I'm not an engineer, but that sounds like a pretty risky move.
Certainly proved to be a fatal error, Lou, because the combined train left Marshalltown just after 7:30 in the morning. It passed through Green Mountain a little after 8, and then 4 miles northeast of Green Mountain, the train, which some think was traveling well above the prescribed safe speed, well, the train derailed. At least 80 passengers and crew were on the train. The so-called pilot of this effort, John White, was himself badly burned, but he and a passenger managed to get to a farmhouse to get help and notify the railroad agent in nearby Gladbrook. A group of physicians from Marshalltown soon arrived by car. By 10:30 in the morning, a bit more than 2 hours after the derailment, a relief train arrived from Marshalltown to take away the injured, and that quickly overwhelmed the medical facilities in Marshalltown.
Yeah, and it sounds like there were a lot of casualties with this crash.
A total of 55 people were killed. 55 killed that Monday morning by the Green Mountain train wreck. And that includes John White. Remember, he was the pilot of the effort. He later died as a result of those severe burns. Now, that number does not include the county coroner, who himself was thrown from a speeding wagon as it rounded the corner of 12th Street in Maine. The county coroner died a month later himself.
Oh, my goodness. Well, today, you never would have thought about things like that.
Absolutely. In his haste to get to the scene, he then was thrown from the wagon and injured.
Man.
He did not survive as well. Well, if you go on Zeller Avenue these days, that's the area where this all happened, you'll find a monument there because this was the greatest railroad tragedy in Iowa history, and it happened near Green Mountain on this date in 1910.
Wow, that is sad that something like that had to occur. But I know you have to be impressed with the the fortitude of the engineer, or the pilot as they called him, to get help, and unfortunately him passing away because of the injuries he sustained on that train.
Yeah, no doubt the adrenaline was running and he didn't feel the pain. But again, not uncommon for severely burned people, especially at that time, to pass away because of infection and the like. Better chance today, but you often do hear about the impact of severe burns.
That is an incredible set of information there. Now, people want to go back and revisit with what we just talked about, because this is a pretty powerful message that you just delivered here. Where can they go get that and a bunch of other things that happen on each day of the year?
Every day, every weekday, brand new story at iowaalmanac.com, iowaalmanac.com. And if you scroll down on that main page, you'll see a little paragraph that talks about something I'm doing tomorrow. We're going to meet with the folks in Ottumwa and tell some stories from the Iowa Almanac. Love to see people there in person, or there's the information there of how you can get a Zoom link, and you can fire that up at 10 in the morning, and we'll be done well before Iowa Live starts tomorrow.
That is great news. Where are you going to be in Ottumwa tomorrow?
This is sponsored by the Public Library, and they host these. It's called the Reminisce Society, and we're at the Knights of Columbus Hall downtown. I was there about 3 years ago. Great presentation. Looking forward to being back tomorrow.
That is great. You have yourself a great time, sir, and then we will talk to you next time.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.